Welcome back to The Road to Inspire. I'm your host, Shanice Hemphill, where I inspire you to get outside of the box and live a life of adventure and wonder. I wanted to talk to you today, first and foremost, about the Airbnb experiences that I had while in Ecuador. Okay? So, I'm a solo traveler, right? So, one of the first Airbnb host that I had while in Ecuador was when I was in Cuenca, Ecuador. Now, while in Cuenca, Ecuador, it was a beautiful one-bedroom apartment. Nice area, mountainous views. To take a taxi from the central square of Ecuador, Cuenca, to the apartment, that's about 7-8 minutes max on 7 to 10 minutes. 10 minutes on a busy day during traffic rush hour, after 5 o'clock, around that time. So away from the square, away from central Ecuador, mountainous views, full kitchen, nice dining room, kitchen area. The only thing that I would say about that, a couple of things that I would say. Although it was very beautiful, although I can wake up and look outside and see the mountain every single morning, sunrise, sunset, the traffic was so loud. And I think I was like on the 3rd or 4th floor. But the traffic was so loud, you would think that I was in the center of the city when I was not. So that was the downside to that. The other downside was having to take a taxi back to the center of the city. So that was like $2 to $2.50 depending on traffic. So that was the downside. Although the apartment was very beautiful, it had washer, dryer, it was very secure. It was in a pretty quiet area. However, that area was not walkable either. The only thing that was walkable was the super maxi that was around the corner. So, and I wasn't trying to cook every day. I didn't go there to start cooking and doing all that kind of extra work. No, I went there to enjoy the food and enjoy the culture. So, that's something that you want to think about. Because the second Airbnb I had. Now, this was my 4th week in Cuenca. So that was in the center of the city. And although it was in the center of a city and there weren't any options, when I chose, of course, there were others that were really nice after I had already booked mine. Then I found the other ones around the same price. Then they started popping up, but I was only in this one 7 days. However, it was in the center of a city. It was a block away from the square. It was right across the street from all of the great restaurants. Everything was within walking distance. So it was very walkable. I can go just a couple doors down and get my favorite tiramisu for $2.50. I can go right across the street and get my filet mignon for $13.50. So the only downside to that one was the building was safe, the building was secure. Yes, all of those things. The cleaning lady was even in there at the time when I checked in, and she did a very good job. However, this particular Airbnb host, they needed to throw out the old bedding that they had, and they even needed to replace the furniture, in my opinion. The furniture was very worn, although from the pictures it was very modern. It was very, very worn. The sheets and the comforters, some of them were all of them were very stained. And I asked for more, some different sheets. I wanted to swap those out, even though I was there only for a week. But to even lay on it, it was uncomfortable. So I'm like, I can't lay on this. There was a huge hole in the seam of the pillowcase. So that was the downside. And I think that was just the host, because even she told me, well, even though, they are very worn, here we still use them. We have a laundry lady who we use for this. However, the sheets, the comforter, it didn't smell bad. it just didn't smell fresh as if it just came out the washer. You know, that clean linen laundry smell? It just didn't have that. Okay. So that was the downside to that, but the location was perfect. I can go outside, breakfast, lunch, dinner, any time of day and get everything that I want. I can go right, you know, I can walk around the area and still enjoy what the center of the city had to offer, and even kind of go outside of that to get the opportunity to enjoy it and still feel safe. You know, I still felt very much safe. Now, going back to the first Airbnb that I was at, the host was very nice because there was a host and a co-host. Now, the host was out of the country. The co-host, she was bilingual, so she spoke Spanish and English. She was very nice, got me the information that I need and all that kind of stuff. Also had recommendations for anything, doctor, dentist, how to do a zoo taxi, how to download that app so that I can get a taxi. All of those things. She was very nice, very kind, very hospitable, and also even asked at the point of checkout if there was anything else that they could have done to make my stay more pleasurable. So other than that, so that was number one. Number two, so number one was perfect, just the location was not so great. It was a little bit further away, although $2.50 is not a lot, or $2.50 not a lot for a taxi, but when you're paying that every day, you know, you don't want to have to drive back and forth when you're being a tourist, or when you want to enjoy like the locals, you know, when you want to live life like the locals, when you want to enjoy a walkable city. I wouldn't say that that's the best place, because being in number one, Airbnb number one, although it was really nice, very affordable, way better than number two, it just wasn't walkable. So the other thing, so number one, number two, after that, I went to Manta, Ecuador. Now, in Manta, Ecuador, beautiful Airbnb, amazing host. Her and her husband, they even showed me the city. They showed me where everything was at. Even another time, her and her daughters, they said, Shanice, come on down. They took me in the car and they dropped me off at the mall, which was really, really nice of them. I really appreciated that. I really appreciated their kindness. When there was a service issue with the internet one time, she even had her son come over, who he was very knowledgeable of all of this and got everything fixed for me, what I needed. Amazing host, beautiful apartment, 1 bedroom, full kitchen, all of those things. The only thing was, they lived right next door to, I don't even know if you would call this a real restaurant, but it was a restaurant in open space, but then they played music after a certain time, and it was so loud, and it was usually till about 2 o'clock in the morning. Then there was a place around the corner and it didn't matter what day of the week it was. So I was there for like 4 days, then I had to escape, okay? Then I had to tell them, look, I'm sorry, I gotta go. I gotta get out of here. I can't even sleep. I can't stay up till 2 in the morning. I don't work third shift, okay? So that was just way over the top. The other thing with that one was, it was very much walkable in the sense that I can walk to the mall, I can walk to the beach, okay? But when it was time for me to walk to the mall or the beach, a couple times, because I like to go for walks. That's very important to me. I like to walk around the area. I like to okay? But on several occasions, I looked outside and I literally had to get a taxi because the dogs that were roaming around. And these were not like, now there were dogs in Cuenca, Ecuador, but in Manta, Ecuador, these dogs were like pit bulls. These dogs were husky, like they ate a lot, they were taken care of. Now, why were they wandering around outside? I do not know. but they were also gnawing on some piece of meat or something for like 2 days. And it was like, I can't even go for a walk to the mall. I have to literally call a taxi everywhere I go. So about the 4th day, I was like, you know what? I can't take it no more. I need to exit. Okay. So quickly I checked out of there. They were very gracious. They were very kind. And I even gave them a great review, but also had to let other people know that, look, you know, if you live this lifestyle, if you like to be up, you came to party, hey, that may be for you. However, if you're going to be working, if you like to get sleep, like be in bed about 10, 11, or even before that, that may not work for you because of the music that the restaurant that somehow made themselves a restaurant that plays really loud music for the whole entire block to hear. Okay, I don't know how that happens in a residential area, but that's what was taking place. So that was my 3rd Airbnb, and that one was in Manta. My 4th Airbnb host walked in, beautiful place, beautiful apartment. The hosts were out of the country. They had a co-host who we communicated via WhatsApp. So the co-host, and now I didn't realize at the time, but the co-host, I thought the co-host was, you know, she lived downstairs because there was a family that lived on the 1st floor, and her niece she said, well, my niece will do the laundry for you. I guess, you know, I understand if they don't want a lot of people messing around with the wash machine and dryer. You know how people are. They will break your stuff. So when you have guests coming in, if you have one person that can do the laundry, wash machine and dryer, then go with that one person. So her niece was the person who she said, you know, leave your laundry outside your apartment door. Because it was a building. It was up to, I think I was on the 2nd, 3rd floor. I was on the 3rd floor, and there was no elevator, but that was okay. So I was on the 3rd floor, so I would just leave my bag of laundry outside, and if you know, already sorted, so one bag of colors, one bag of whites, so she knew what to do. And so once they were dry, she changed the load. She did everything for me. Didn't ask for anything, but of course I gave her a tip. Somebody's doing your laundry. So that Airbnb was the best. Literally, I felt like it was a creative space. It was a wide open space. It was a very, very clean space. The communication was very good with the co-host, since the hosts themselves, who were the owners of the apartment, they were out of the country, but the co-hosts were amazing. There was a time where, if you watch my video regarding how to not get kicked out of a taxi, this was the time that I had to contact my Airbnb co-host, Janet, and let her know via WhatsApp that this is what is taking place. He's trying to kick me out of the taxi, yada, 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 yada. But again, you can go and watch that video. So I was communicating her. She said, I will report him to Lord of the I will talk to Lord of the Taxis, whoever Lord of the Taxis is. But she was going to take care of it. And she was very kind and very gracious, just offered everything that she thought that I would need to help my stay be more comfortable. Now, when it came time for me to leave, because, you know, this was the day before I left, that was the whole taxi thing. And the day that I was leaving, I asked her, you know, could you get a taxi for me? Could you make sure that I have a taxi to get me to the bus station? So from the bus station to, where was I going? Guayaquil. So from Manta to Guayaquil, 4.5 to 5 hours, right? So she said, I mean, I didn't know all this was going to take place like this, but she was like, my niece will go with you. It wasn't no question. My niece gonna go with you. And keep in mind, we were communicating via Google Translate because she didn't speak English. I didn't speak Spanish. So we were communicating via WhatsApp. Her niece also did not speak English and I did not speak Spanish. So this is how we're communicating. So so I texted, I brought my bags downstairs and I was like, I'm ready. And then her niece, was just walking in the door, and I thought that was Janet, the one who I had been communicating, who was with her. That must have been another aunt or a mom. I don't know. But she came in, she hurried up, she, rolled my bags because there were taxis. It was right by the grocery store. So it was taxis lined up in front. So great. She hailed a taxi. She talked her talk. They talk in Spanish. I stood back in silence, English. And she jumped in the front seat. He threw my stuff in the trunk. And from there, we were going to the bus station. Now, she jumped in and jumped out, talked to a couple people at the bus station to figure out, make sure this bus was going directly to Guayaquil, how much it was going to cost. Waited here, waited there. Okay, got my ticket. I paid for my ticket, which I think was about somewhere between, I think it was about $10, $12. Yeah. Talked to the person at the checkpoint and let them know she needed to get me on the bus. She didn't want to just wave at me from afar. She wanted to make sure my luggage was up under that bus secure. Wanted to make sure I was on the bus before she walked away. When I tell you that she handled everything, literally she handled everything. I was so grateful, because that made me catching that bus and getting to Guayaquil, it was just so much ease. It was just literally just so much ease. And not that Manta's bus station was, packed, or because it's a smaller bus station. So there was no crowds or anything like that. And I probably could have figured it out. But sometimes God sends you help when you don't even know you need the help. So she jumped in the taxi with me, had the taxi wait for her. And, I made sure that, okay, you make sure this taxi gets you covered. And I, made sure I tipped her well. And him. So she got me in there, got my bus ticket, got me on that bus. When I tell you I got on the bus, I was just crying with gratitude, because I was tired already. I had already been up all morning, because usually the day before, and even in the morning, it's like I want to make sure I have all my stuff. I'm crossing all my T's. I'm dotting all my I's. And this was 12 o'clock in the afternoon. So by the time I got to Guayaquil, Janet asked me while I was on the bus. Now, this is her auntie. She asked me, Shanice, you let me know when you arrive. I'll wait for you. And I'm thinking, okay, I'll let you know. I'm here. All right. She's like, Shanice, did you arrive? I'm here. And I'm like, I stepped off the bus. And this is this Ecuadorian lady standing right outside. She says, Shanice. She had her phone like this. And her phone said, everything is going to be okay. You're okay. And she said, I'm Janet. And I'm like, wait a minute, hold up. So you mean to tell me, and I'm asking her, because via Google Translate, and then she, I'm asking her, like, how are you here? And she's like, I live here. I usually host people at my house. I have my own driver. Wait a minute, hold on, Janet. You got your own driver? Auntie, she says, I have my own driver. Where are you going? And I said, well, I'm going to the mall. This is all via Google Translate. I'm going to the mall to meet my friend Nadia. Check my video with Nadia. I did an interview with her. It was phenomenal. She's great. But back to what I was going to say. So she's like, I'm going to take you. You want us to take you to the mall? I can take you to the mall, and you can leave your stuff in the car if you want. And I'm like, okay. And so she did not just drop me off at the mall. She literally came in the mall with me. She waited for Nadia because Nadia's driver was late. So we waited for Nadia. And I was like, well, I'm gonna get something to eat. Literally, I was famished. Like, I was nauseated. Like, y'all about to have to call 911. I know it was going. I was just very, very, very nauseated. Okay. And I was starving. And I was dehydrated. I mean, I just needed help from food. You know, that's what I do, right? Okay. Anyway, so she insisted on paying for my meal. And by this time, I'm like, now I know that an Airbnb host don't do all this. I mean, who this lady? Harper, who this? So by the time that Nadia got there, her and Nadia communicated because Nadia was bilingual. So her and Nadia communicated. She let Nadia know, look, when you guys get finished, call me and then I will come. So by the time me and Nadia got finished talking and seeing, you know, everything that was in the mall that needed to be seen, okay, it was about 9:30, maybe 9 o'clock. Okay. She's like, okay, well, you know, we message her, but then she just called and she's like, let me speak to Nadia. I'm like, okay, I just heard Nadia. So Nadia, of course, made sure I got what I needed, make sure I got my water. They picked me up, swooped me off to the airport with my luggage in hand. Baby, baby, that was the best Airbnb. She was the co-host now. Co-host that I ever met. I've never had that kind of hospitality from an Airbnb host. And I mean, again, sometimes God will send you help when you don't even know that you need the help. I didn't even know that I needed all that help on the last day. But evidently God knew that I was going to be exhausted, that I was going to be famished, that I know, look, I was tired. Whew, I was exhausted that day. But I'm grateful because with that final Airbnb in Manta, Ecuador, that made my experience so much better to have somebody, one, who was able to speak the language when I was about to get kicked out of the taxi, somebody who I can call on when I needed to know this, that, and the other, because I didn't speak the language, and somebody who can just jump in the taxi with me and make sure I get to my destination. Those are all the things that I would definitely have the next time that I go to Ecuador. Okay, so that was my Airbnb experience. I can tell you this, that compared to the hospitality and the kindness that I was shown by my Airbnb host in Ecuador, it is by far the best that I've experienced from an Airbnb host at any level in the US. Although I have had very good experiences with Airbnbs throughout the US, by far, Ecuador, 10 stars. Definitely 10 stars. They are the best. So if you are wondering, would it be safe or would it be this or that, you know, check out the ratings. I don't care how many ratings it is. Look through the ratings, because whatever your thing is or something that you just can't deal with, what is the one thing that you can't deal with? What is the one thing that you can't tolerate? I know me. I'm bougie on a budget, okay? So there are certain things that I just like can't tolerate. You know, there are certain things that I just can't deal with. But I so appreciate the kindness. Like, to me, hospitality is A1. That's the number one thing for me, kindness and hospitality. And when people give you that, it's like, what more can what more can you say? What more can you argue about? What more can you be grateful for? Because that was the best. Safety, yeah, that's a thing too, especially if you're traveling solo. I can't say, other than those dogs being loosed and all of that in Manta, Ecuador, I can't say that there were other moments where I felt that I was really, really unsafe being in Ecuador, especially being a solo travel. I can tell you this though, when I compare Manta to Cuenca, Ecuador, I can tell you that I felt the safest in Cuenca, Ecuador, because there were always people walking about, and it's a very walkable city. But we're not talking about that right now. We're talking about my Airbnb experience while in Ecuador, and I tell you this, it was phenomenal, and I will definitely do it again. So why don't you like and subscribe? Until next time,